The number one safety in the 2024 class is set to announce his college commitment on Saturday. KJ Bolden is choosing between programs I am sure that you have heard of: Georgia, Florida State, Auburn, and Ohio State. The Dogs currently lead the crystal ball for the Peach State five-star. Now, Bolden is one of many upcoming commitments, so let's get a little more info on some potential fits from our director of scouting, Andrew Ivins. Andrew, the number one safety's got a lot of great options. I just mentioned his final four of Georgia, Florida State, Auburn, and Ohio State. But which of these programs provides the best fit?
Well, Emily, KJ Bolden, I mean, he's a guy that's been on the national recruiting scene for 3 years now at Buford High School, and he's really made an impact on Friday nights on the offensive side of the ball. You watch his highlights, he's catching passes, running by defenders. He'll catch passes this upcoming fall from Dylan Raiola, the number one quarterback in the country. But we project him as a safety. He's a 10-7 kid in the 100-meter dash. You see the short area quickness, his ability to find, trigger, and get to the football at the catch point. It's some of the best. He can play center field on the back end. He can also fill the alley. And when you look at his finalists, right, Georgia leads on the crystal ball. Florida State's involved in there. They're actually the first school to offer him 3 years ago. Auburn, they're as hot as anyone on the recruiting trail. I think all these schools would fit him and his skill set. But to me, I think if I had to choose one, it would be Georgia for KJ Bolden. And look, Georgia kind of needs this one. Last cycle, they lost out on Caleb Downs. They lost out on Justice Haynes. Both those guys went to Alabama. This cycle, Sammy Brown's already gone to Clemson. Those are top-ranked players in the Peach State. And as good as Georgia's been recruiting, they've had, I don't want to say some issues, but those local kids in the backyard haven't stuck. With KJ Bolden, I think he'd be another defensive chess piece for Glenn Schumann and Will Muschamp. And if you're KJ Bolden, why would you not want to play in that defense? We know Georgia, they continue to reload in the front seven, whether that be at linebacker or on the defensive line. And if you're KJ, with his speed, his range, his ball skills, I think there would be an opportunity to come down with a bunch of takeaways, patrolling the back end and the secondary. And the other thing, if he goes to Georgia, he's in Athens. I mean, the competition is going to be there every day in practice. And that's only going to make him better. So I think all those schools fit. Auburn, it'd be fun there. They're recruiting really well. Florida State, Mike Norvell has it cooking there. Pat Surtain, the former NFL DB, is working in the secondary. But ultimately, for me, I think Georgia would make the most sense.
Andrew also committing on Saturday as four-star wide receiver Gatlin Bair. He's the number one player in the state of Idaho and perhaps the most intriguing athlete in the entire country. Michigan, Oregon, TCU, Nebraska, and Boise are the finalists. Our own Brandon Huffman has been all over this recruitment. He told us on Monday's show that it's really a battle between Michigan and Boise State. Of those two, which school and which offense do you think fits Gatlin Bair the best?
This is a tough one, Blair. And have we ever had a Boise State-Michigan battle heading down the stretch? I mean, this has got to be a first. I think it'd be fun to see Gatlin in that blue turf. He'd be the highest-ranked signee ever for Boise State if he were to pick the Broncos. But what's unique about Gatlin's recruitment is he's actually going to go on a 2-year mission before he enrolls at the school of his choice. And just doing some research this morning and last night, talking with Brandon Huffman, these guys that have done missions, there isn't really a ton of them that have made it to the NFL. Now, there are a few. Taysom Hill comes to mind. But really, taking 2 years off from football and returning, it kind of sets the clock back a little bit. So for me, I think with Gatlin, if he wants to play in the NFL, if this is a guy that wants to make it to the league, be on TV on Sundays, I think Michigan would make the most sense. And we know what Jim Harbaugh and his program has done. They're some of the best player developers out there. Jim Harbaugh just came out and said next April he thinks 20 of his guys could be drafted. He thinks that they could break the record. I think if Gatlin goes wherever he's going to go for that mission for 2 years and then returns, takes his talent to Ann Arbor, I think it would be a fit. And look at Michigan's offense. It is a ball control, run first offense usually. And I think Gatlin, someone who has some of the better track times here in the 2024 cycle, he's a 10-1 kid in the 100-meter dash, went under 21 in the 200-meter dash. He could be that deep threat on the outside, allow them to unlock some things. So I think if Gatlin wants to, again, make the league, I think Michigan would make the most sense. I would like to see him on the blue turf, though. I think that'd be fun. He would kind of be the hometown hero.
Yeah, our friend Brandon Huffman did submit a crystal ball for him to land at Boise State earlier today. So, yeah, it's been the whole maturation throughout the week saying don't count him out. Now he's got that crystal ball in. Before I ask this next question, I have to remind the viewers, we have a fun back and forth every time we do the 5-star reveals. I ask you, why are there no running backs? And you say, well, we do it based off of what's happening in the NFL. And there is an absolute chaotic reckoning happening with the running back position right now. So this is what we mean when we say that you base it all off of what happens in the NFL draft. We're seeing it right now in real time. Same thing with this cycle, no 5 stars, but that does not mean that there is not talent. And look no further than the 4-star Nate Frazier. He is set to make his decision this Sunday between Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, and Texas A&M. So who is the best fit for the modern-day back?
It's funny you brought up the NFL running backs, Emily. I thought of you when all that news with Jonathan and all those guys was coming out. I
apologize.
Nate Frazier, he could actually, I think, be a riser for us depending on how this senior season goes. He averaged 11.4 yards per carry playing in the Trinity League behind that stout Matter Day offensive line as a junior. And I think of his finalists, Georgia might make the most sense. If you look at Georgia's offensive line class, they call it the Great Wall. That's what someone told me in Athens. They have 6 offensive linemen committed. They average 345 pounds a player, so they are big. And I think Nate Frazier, who has that breakaway speed, I say he can scoot on film. I think he would find a ton of holes behind the Great Wall there for UGA. And Georgia already has 2 running backs committed. They got Chauncey Bowens, who's a big 225-pound battering ram out of the state of Florida. And then they got Dwight Phillips, who is the son of a great track runner. And he too has that track speed. Nate Frazier, to me, you pair those 3 guys together, it'd be the perfect committee. Nate can kind of be the workhorse, the every down back, while those 2 could supplement him in certain situations. So he's got his pick of options. I know Georgia has sunk their teeth into him. I think it would make a ton of sense just because, again, the running lanes are going to be there for him if he were to pick the 2-time defending national champs.
And Jonathan Paylor is the last top 24/7 prospect to talk about that is scheduled to commit this weekend. He will make his announcement on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern right here on the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel. The 4-star athlete from North Carolina, he will be choosing between NC State, UNC, South Carolina, Maryland, and Penn State. So with him set to come off the board, Andrew, at which school do you think he fits best?
Blair, I'm really excited to see where Jonathan Paylor ends up. I was in Baltimore for the Under Armour camp back in May. Jonathan Paylor initially was not on the roster. I saw some guy run one slant route. I'm like, who the heck is this? Turns out it was Jonathan Paylor. I talked about track times with Gatlin, Bair, and some of those other individuals. Well, Jonathan Paylor is a burner of his own. Took first in North Carolina in the 400-meter dash. He was second in the 200-meter dash, third in the 100-meter dash. I mean, this guy can move. It sounds like he's going to also run track at the next level. Looking at his finalists, to me, the one that sticks out, and they're trending on the crystal ball, is NC State. They got a new offensive coordinator, Robert Anae, who was at Syracuse. He was at Virginia. He's telling Jonathan Paylor that he could be a weapon in that system. I think it's the perfect description. Jonathan Paylor, is he a wide receiver? Is he a running back? I don't think it really matters. He's a guy who just get the football, and I think NC State would have the perfect plan for him. If you're a Wolfpack fan out there trying to find a player comp for Jonathan Paylor, how about Naheem Hines, who is now in the NFL? You know, he started off his career there in Raleigh as a wide receiver, moved to running back, ran for over 1,000 yards, and he too ran track for the Wolfpack. So I would be excited to see Jonathan Paylor end up at NC State. That would shoot some life into their recruiting class. They're quietly making some noise. Just recently had a big recruiting weekend. I think it was called the Alpha Wolf Camp. Sounded pretty exciting, and Jonathan Paylor was there working out for them. So I'm really intrigued to see where he ends up. I think NC State would make a ton of sense.
Yeah, Pack fans very happy hearing that right now. I love the names of these recruiting visits. We need to do like a ranking at some point because they get pretty creative with them. Andrew, thank you so much for being on the show. If you want more great intel from him, be sure you listen to the podcast. It's the 24/7 Sports Football Recruiting Podcast with Cooper Patagna. New episodes drop every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, wherever you get your pods. Today's the last day to become a valued annual VIP member of 24/7 Sports for, see the giant words right there? 75% off. Yes, as a member, you have access to every VIP article, message board, and unrivaled intel from our experts for a full season and beyond. We are practically giving it away, so don't miss out.